So welcome to our ongoing series of Icons of Relocation podcast. My name is Simon Johnston. I'm the CEO of Icon Relocation, a provider of world-leading home search, moving, technology and property management solutions. Now today I'm delighted to be joined by perhaps one of the most influential people in the relocation industry. Of course, I'm talking to Tad Zilinden. Hi Tad, how are you today?
Hi, Simon.
I just wanted to open this conversation up. I'm the current chair of the ARP. I must say, this is why I love this conversation. It's so exciting, a conversation. I think it's actually essential. But what's really exciting about this potential conversation is the real net benefit of this is not the relocation industry, it's the clients that we support.
ARP is a national organisation and therefore does things relating to the United Kingdom, whereas Euro is a multinational global organisation. So it takes a slightly different view. The ARP was formed back in 1986 by like-minded people involved in the relocation industry at the time, which was very, very, very different to what it is today.
Right.
And that, in fact, I was one of those people offering relocation services, albeit to private clients. By a quirk of fate and a move to Edinburgh, I ended up running the ARP for various different reasons. And that was in 1987. And as I say, that's the way it's been ever since. In late 97, I was approached by the SNPRM in France, which is the Syndicat National des Professionnels de la Relocation et de la Mobilité, to help them in the formation of Euro. We had a meeting in late 1997 and it was agreed that we should do this. A working party was set up. I ended up running or looking after the working party, and in 1998 Euro was formed, and the obvious place at the time for Euro to live was in the ARP's office, and that's what happened, and that's where it's been ever since. They have coexisted now for nearly 25 years, which is pretty good. So that's where we are. That's how we came about. Two very different organizations in particular. The ARP, as we are at the moment, is good for lobbying the British government. For Euro, it would be impossible, simply because there are too many governments to lobby, and we would need literally millions of pounds in order to get anywhere. So Euro concentrates on being a focus for the global industry, for the global mobility industry, for the relocation industry. And currently, one of the big projects Euro is involved in is creating a sustainability roadmap for relocation companies, mobility professionals, because a lot of them are very small organizations and they need some guidance. They don't necessarily want to go and hire specialists to tell them what they should be doing. They need an association to perhaps help them. Right. Euro also runs a very successful annual conference, and we do from time to time run smaller global conferences. Euro is behind the MIM program, Managing International Mobility, with various different levels. There's the MIM, there's MIM Plus, to help to educate people involved in the relocation stroke mobility industry. We also are behind the EGQS, the Euro Global Quality Seal, which is there to for companies, which is an ISO or similar to an ISO, only specific to the mobility industry. So Euro is looking after the individuals and also the companies they work for. On the other hand, the ARP, as I said, very much a national organisation, has been involved in the UK industry for a very long time. With the arrival of COVID in 2020, I have to say I sat at this desk. Oh, no, it wasn't quite this desk. I hadn't moved the office to the home office at that point.
Right, that's a fact.
It was an old dressing table sitting in a different place in this room, and I scratched my head and I said, what on earth is the ARP going to do during COVID? And it occurred to me that we really needed to do something about relocation recognition. It's something which is a theme that's been very important. So I started writing to people. I wrote to members. I said, write to your MP, tell them you're a relocation company, tell them how important you are. I did a couple of surveys. I was able quite quickly to establish that the industry in this country was worth a lot of money to the economy if you take into consideration all the people affected. However, that wasn't enough. And I went out to a group of members and we started talking and we were saying, what can we do? How are we going to do this? We had absolutely no idea where to go about this. And also the other problem was we knew that if we went to a PR agency, something like that, to help us, it would cost more than we could possibly afford.
Absolutely.
And then, by happy coincidence, somebody introduced us to Lembit Opik, who is great. He's fantastic. He knows his way around the House of Commons. He knows his way around politics in this country. And he was willing to help us at an affordable level. And he has been assisting us and working with us ever since, trying to help us to tackle the relocation tax allowance, which, if you don't know, has been the same since 1993, which is ludicrous on the basis that the tax allowance per employee is £8,000. Well, you can easily spend £8,000 on just paying stamp duty.
Yeah, I mean,
so
it's hideously out of date, isn't it?
Yeah, effectively, it's very nice for the government. We'll give people a tax allowance of 8,000. They can spend it by paying our stamp duty. So it's a little bit unfair. But of course, there are other aspects to moving, which are, removals companies, relocation companies, and all the other bits and pieces that go with it. Changes to homes to make them right in order that people live in like-for-like properties, that kind of thing, which basically mean that this allowance is almost it makes no sense. It should be way over £20,000. So we're trying to look at that. We're trying to get the immigration process for the sort of people that relocation companies work for, companies wish to bring in to make them more profitable, to bring more money to the economy. We're trying to talk to the Home Office about simplifying the visa process. Right. Unfortunately, the government takes this view that takes this view that all immigrants are the same, which is not true at all. Some are economic migrants and some are migrants good for the economy.
Right.
And we need to make it easier for them to get in, especially when the government is trying to improve the British economy following Brexit. We want as much talent as we can possibly get. Talent is a word I hear the whole time. It's something that everybody wants talent. I mean, they want it. Every single country is desperate for people.
I totally agree. And on that, just to jump in, actually, I think this is what the relocation industry is. What we're here is to actually make sure the best talent is in the best place at the right time. And that is what we are in the industry for. So we're absolutely key to this. If the country wants to survive and have the best potential talent here, we are at the centre of this. We are an essential part of that aspect.
And in fact, leading on from the fact that I was able to establish that the industry contributed whatever it was, 7 billion. Right. We have decided that we need to actually get an organisation to qualify that, to say, yeah, you're right, or no, you're wrong, or you're completely mad. It's actually 20 billion, whatever it might, the more the merrier, to be honest. And so we are on the verge of engaging an organisation to do this. However, as with everything, it costs money. And in order to do this research, which will be good for illustrating to the Home Office, to the Chancellor Exchequer, to virtually every department in government the value of this industry, and will help us hopefully to persuade them to make changes which benefit the industry. And it's not just the industry that they're benefiting. If the relocation tax allowance is increased, it will actually take the pressure off employers who find themselves grossing up.
Right.
And
This is
whereas,
something I think I just want to jump in there. As I said, for those who don't know, I'm the current chair of the ARP. I must say, this is why I love this conversation. It's so exciting, a conversation. I think it's actually essential. But what's really exciting about this potential conversation is the real net benefit of this is not the relocation industry, it's the clients that we support. So if we can get that £8,000 tax relief increased, it is absolutely essential to this narrative. Sorry to jump in there, but it's such a key point to expand on.
You know, if and I'm sorry, I'm just doing tap on my calculator.
Please do.
If an employer is giving somebody £25,000 worth of support, so £17,000 is subject to tax. Well, probably the person is on 40% tax. The employer is going to gross it up and gross it up and gross it up, so it's going to actually cost them nearer 35,000.
Right.
So if we can get an increase in that tax allowance, the savings could be amazing. And if you're, as an employer, if you're moving, 20 people a year, and you're spending, I don't know, between 5,000 and 10,000 grossing up, that's an awful lot of money.
Absolutely.
So, we are looking for people to help us pay for this.
Right. So perhaps we can expand on this, because as I said, this is such an important conversation. So what are we looking for? What would we like people to do to help us to really try and get the government to recognise us and to help change things like this tax law?
Well, I suppose that, in essence, come to us, talk to us. We can give you more detail on exactly what we're doing in terms of which company we're using, how it's going to be dealt with. But essentially, we need not an enormous amount of money. We're not talking hundreds of thousands. We're talking, a few tens of thousands in order to do this properly. But the money will be used for this project to both, number one, get the research done, and and have an opportunity thereafter to use the information that we get, and spread it out, to promote it.
So this is a survey that will be recognised by the UK government, wouldn't it? It will be done
absolutely.
In a way that
the organisation we're talking about is definitely an organisation that produces stuff that the UK government recognise, and in fact, it effectively, because we are, Lembit knows exactly where to go. He said we should use these people, so we're going to be using these people. And there are other things that we want to achieve as well. There's a ridiculous amount of bureaucracy involved in the relocation industry, and frankly, a lot of the businesses involved are not enormous, and wasting the CEO's time dealing with bureaucratic bits of paper that are frankly unnecessary. And also there's the issue of the multi layers of people who are involved in money laundering and checking people and double checking people. It's quite ridiculous that in a house purchase, the estate agent has to check the seller and has to check the buyer. The lawyers involved have to check both parties. And if it involves a relocation company and it's a requirement, the relocation company has to check both parties as well. Right. So essentially, there are three different organizations checking that Mr. Smith is really Mr. Smith and he really does work for XYZ Limited. And again, it seems, and then on top of that, everyone has to keep the paperwork for 7 years, whatever it is. And it just seems
it's far from
a lot for smaller organizations. So it's another thing that we're trying to work
survey on. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but just going back to the survey for a second. So I'm very excited about this because I believe for a number of different reasons this really matters. This allow the UK industry to recognise how important we are in making sure the top talent is moved around. But also it will shine a light into really the sort of value, the economic benefits we bring to the country, plus support our clients. So if anybody's interested in this, how would they engage? What would they need to do? Is there your website? Is there any other aspects what you can do? How can we help people getting fully involved in this?
I'm not sure it's on the website yet, because I think we need to actually complete the survey before we can actually stick it on the website.
Yes, sorry, I meant in regards to raising funds for the survey.
In regards to raising funds, they basically need to come to us and talk to us. You can write to me, tad@arp-relocation.com. I'm perfectly happy to accept emails if people are interested. I think one of the important things is to try and, with this survey, what we're trying to show is that the value of the actual relocation industry is going to be a relatively small figure. But then if you add to that the value of the people being relocated into the UK and their individual spend within the economy, that becomes a bigger figure. If you then add to that the value of the organizations that they work for and their effect on the UK industry, it goes even further. If you then, because global mobility is not just relocation companies, it's moving companies, it's people who specialize in helping individuals find schools for their children, it's furniture rental companies. There are so many different organizations that might be involved. If you add all those in, and then on top of that, you add in the spend of all these different people, you've got a massive amount of money that is coming into the UK. And I would suggest that the relocation industry in this country really does punch way above its weight. I mean,
couldn't agree with you more. Yeah, totally agree.
And that's the, and then if we do the same thing, if we say to that, okay, well, let's multiply that globally. I mean, we're talking trillions of pounds in individual countries. I mean, some countries are bringing in hundreds of people to get themselves going, to get their economies moving. It's as a global phenomenon, you know, relocation, I have always said, makes the world go round.
That's a good slogan. I completely agree with you. I mean, I have to say, I'm really excited about this. I mean, I think there's so much potential. And what's also exciting about this, everybody benefits.
Yes.
You know, the country benefits, the companies benefits, the industry benefits, and the relocating assignee benefits. And this is why it's such a positive conversation to push on.
And the government benefits, because it looks as if it's doing something to actually get the economy moving again.
Okay, a couple of things I'd like to do on this. One is, obviously, we both know Lembit very well, and he's been fantastically instrumental in this.
Yes.
So what I'd like to do is, obviously, thanks for the sort of setting the groundwork on this. It'll be great to explore conversation with you and Lembit and what we're trying to do and why we're trying to do it and how we're trying to do it, because it'd be so exciting for everybody to get involved. And again, this is another thing to underline. It's amazing what the ARP is doing at the heart of this to make this possible. But every single company, every individual can be part of it. This is why it's potentially more interesting than meets the eye. It doesn't matter if you're a major company, small company, provider, or some sort of network provider. Everybody can have a say in this and actually contribute towards this narrative. And if we can get that going, then we can really change the face of this industry in the UK. Because echoing what you said earlier, it is amazing. This is an industry worth billions in the UK. Yeah. And the government doesn't really know we exist. And
I can go further than that. When we spoke to the Department of International Trade, they were fully aware of the idea of companies relocating to the UK and being given large grants to set up whatever it might be, with no guarantees that they would actually remain in Cardiff or in wherever it was, Dunfermline, for any length of time. They give them loads of money, but they had no clue that that there was an industry out there that actually worked with individuals. Because if you get the individuals wrong, the business itself may well fail. because you get the wrong people, might not work. Get the wrong talent, won't work. But I've got to say that, you know, just expanding again a little bit. I mean, you just think about people buying houses that are being built, and of course, a lot of people end up in corporate housing for a little while until their rental or their property is available. So I mean, you really are talking an enormous amount of money effectively going into the UK economy.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see the outcome of this survey.
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple of things I'd like to sort of bring to close on, because as I said, I just wanted to open this conversation up, and with your blessing, come back and revisit this, because what I like to do is make sure that all the clients that we work for, or the partners we work with around the world, know what we're doing here. And again, everybody's welcome to take part. That's what's so exciting about this. So maybe we can actually just refer back to the survey in due course. How are we doing? Where are we raising money? If anybody wants to help, then contact you. I'm going to ask you to share your email address again in a little while. But then we can go back and bring Lembit in and really raise that conversation. And hopefully we'll get some great dialogue going with other parties and to help this drive forward. So can I just ask you one more time, if they want to know more, email you, can you just share that email address one more time?
My email address, very simple, tad at arp-relocation.com.
Brilliant. That feels like a really exciting place to draw close on this. But as I said, hopefully in a few weeks' time, we'll come back and see where we're going, and we'll just keep this conversation going. I feel very passionate about it. I'm very proud to be the chair of the ARP at the moment. I think there's a lot we can do on this space. So hopefully everybody listening can join in. That'll be amazing.
Yes, absolutely. The more the merrier. Okay. Thank
Brilliant.
you.
As always, absolute pleasure to see you. Thank you so much for your time. And I look forward to the next conversation.
Okay. Luke, me too.
Take care.